If you're a salaried person, you know exactly what I mean, that most corporate jobs suck at the moment. What is the reason? I'm not saying every job, but most corporate jobs, if you're a sane, logical person, I'm talking to mostly the male audience. If you're a logical, calculative, straightforward man, wanting to get things done, no BS, for that type of a person, I think most corporate jobs suck at the moment. Let's say if you're more of on the liberal end of the spectrum, then yes, you might like the new corporate world. But yes, if you're on more of the traditional end of the spectrum where you just want no BS, just work done, go home at 5, come back, just pull a straight up 8 hour of hard work and then just leave at 5, for you, man, the corporate job right now is a mess. I'm that type of person that I love to just get work done and leave on time, come on time, work at an extreme pace that I set myself, and then take break whenever I want, finish my projects whenever I want. Yes, of course, I'll attend a meeting or two if needed, but I cannot attend 4 meetings a day and then uh, like spend half a day in meetings and push my work until later on the day and just finish it at like 6 or 7. Either way, it's not about the hours. It's not about working less or more. But what I'm actually really boiling down to, the one reason, if you still ask me, I haven't discussed it yet, is pathetic management. The people who have been put in powers, who are in management positions at the moment, in most multinational companies, uh, in the North Americas, I would at least say, is terrible. Is I don't know what is this fashion of hiring uh, inexperienced young, mostly women, into management roles and think that they would be able to handle a group of a group which is aged between 25 to 50 years or 25 to 60 years, even in some workplaces, and the manager that they're hiring is, I don't know on what basis, is a 28-year-old uh, with 2 years experience, or because whatever, she did a presentation, like one presentation better, or I don't know, just looks better on the camera when they turn on the meeting, when they turn on the meeting camera, and they smile a lot and whatever, just appear to be better. I do not understand. I don't know if it's the appearance. For what I thought, actually, coming from, not from America, coming from India, and having worked in Dubai and internationally also in the shipping industry, and a few other places, I thought the US and Canada was the most nonchalant place. I thought it was like, oh no, no BS, logic, logic, logic. We're not gonna entertain any wastage of time. We're gonna like put all our time to work. And but when I arrived here, I saw the situation was so entirely different, insanely different actually, and especially in the recent times, in the recent 5 years. Oh my God, the way the corporates have gone, and you must have heard that incident where Musk took over Twitter and fired like so many, like almost 40-60% of the woke employees, which then in turn saved Twitter. But that's the condition in most of the corporate actually, and those wokies are also managers and supervisors in most places, and they are the ones who are ruining the business. They absolutely do not understand where the money lies. They have no insights on business development. They have no nothing to offer when it comes to building a team, um, keeping a good environment, and nothing. These older 45, 50 year old managers, who have worked in the company for like 10, 20 years, 40 years, and they have like a career experience of a good 25 to 30 years. If you replace those with like 26, 28, 30 year old um, girls, let's say fresh hires girls, how do you think the entire situation is going to turn out to be? Like, no way. It's not going to work. I think I don't know. I don't know what to call it. I don't know if the world is shifting more towards an appearance of the company. I've used these terms in discussions often, that nowadays people are not racist, but people are appearancist. The world is not racist. Ever since social media and the invention of filters and so many photographic apps like this, these selfie apps and editing apps, yes, we have worked on racism, but we have not worked on appearancism, right? Like, what are you using a filter for? What is it doing? It's changing your appearance, your natural appearance, which you're insecure of, which you want to hide, which you um, um, are ashamed of, and that's the appearance that you are being discriminated on. And I definitely believe, to a great extent, that the world is not racist, but it's appearancist at this point, and it's going very highly towards a tipping point. I have seen it in, like, you can see it in Korea, where this is at the peak. I think that their society is so appearance conscious, that like 7 out of 10 women have some kind of plastic surgery done and some kind of work done. Most men have some kind of work done, wearing makeup. Feminism crept in, and they haven't happened. Their birth rate is the lowest in the world, and they're almost on the brink of existence, or brink of uh, extinction. Sorry, that's the word I'm looking for. But the world is appearancist, man. Um, all of Asia, excluding a very minute, minor population of people. Okay, I'm gonna say all of Asia, right from the east end of Japan to this west end of Turkey, all the entire Arabic world, Arabian world, the Indian subcontinent, all of the Asian, South Asian, Southeast Asian countries, they are appearancist, man. They're absolutely appearancist. I don't know about Africa. I am sure they also have that effect going on, because there definitely is, a color. I like to call it a spell. There's a color spell on the world, that's been going on for ages, and it's still going on. There is, as a biological fact, we actually call it a biological fact. Who knows? Maybe it's just a spell, just a mental spell that's been put on us since childhood. And if we grew up in a different environment where this spell did not exist, we would not think white was the better color, or white was the better shade of skin and dark was the lesser shade of skin. We wouldn't have thought that. It's just how the world is set up at the moment, how the programming and how the economy is set up at the moment, where the lightest countries, the lightest people, are supposedly the highest, having the highest standards of living, and then the darkest gradually decreasing, then the darkest people having the lowest standards of living. Does that mean melanin has something to do with achieving a standard of living or economy? Does melanin control economy in any aspect? What does color have to do with anything? With finance? Why is every black country poor? Right? So there has to be a something bigger that's been going on since before our birth, since before our parents' birth, since thousands of years. There's a plan in play, there's an act in play, and it's not an accident. Like melanin and finance have nothing to do with each other, right? Melanin and education, technology have nothing to do with each other. This all. Uh, this race of races, that's why I think it's called a race actually in the English language. English is an eclectic language, and it's very interesting in that terms actually. So this race of races is is a very interesting topic to look into, especially being from the Indian subcontinent, where civilization has existed for like thousands of years. Like at least I can, just by looking at the monuments around my house, just within an hour, 2 hours away from my house, I can say that people have been living here at least for 5, 6,000, 7,000 years, because of the caves that have been built in the mountains, and the statues and everything else. So it's actually, it's difficult to say. Actually, it's not difficult. It's, you have to believe that there is a bigger hidden hand behind all these global economics of our world. Like currencies are a number in the computer. We'll talk about that later. But coming back to the point of, this all ties into the theory that I was talking about, which is that the world is still appearances. It's not racist, but it's appearances to a great extent. To a great extent. And we have a huge battle to fight ahead of us in against this appearanceism. And this is what I think has crept up into the corporate as well, along with a mix of some of the new age BS, and some components of feminism, and some components of the new girl boss movement, and a few other things. Yeah, stuff is horrible. Let me give you an example. Um, the place where I used to work at, okay, it was a consulting firm, and we would do consulting for people traveling between two countries for work. And the global head, the global manager who was in charge for the client, like the global account manager for that client, and the client was a huge tech giant, promised to do a global briefing for every single candidate of their company from any country to any country. So basically, it meant that any person traveling from any country to any country would have a global briefing with the consultants of both of those countries attending the call together at the same time. Okay, they proposed this as an additional point to win over the client, like to boast over, as a selling point, without thinking even if it's that, even if that was going to be possible or not. Okay, this again was look like a newish hire, 28-year-old, 20 something like that year old, uh, let's say girl. I don't want to get banned from YouTube, but yeah. And then that's what they promised. And then when it was discussed with the team, which I was a part of in the North Americas, I said, so let's say a person is moving between China and USA. The time difference is almost 12 hours. It is 12 hours, more than 12 hours. How do you expect to do this briefing with both of those offices being present on the call at the same time without one of those offices having to do overtime? And it didn't. What I was saying still did not strike them. Okay, and then I had to explain it a few times that, let's say it's 10 a.m. in China. Okay, and there's a tax consultant working in the China office, and at the same time in the New York office it's 10 p.m. right now. So will you be paying overtime to the New York consultant because they're going to stay 4 hours after their shift until 10 p.m., or rather until 11 p.m., and then join the call? So are you going to pay them extra money, overtime, or how are you going to work this whole scheduling thing out if someone is traveling between, let's say, China to US, or India to US, or Russia to US, which is majority of the moves that we were actually handling at that time? And excuse me, that's when it clicked them. Okay, but even the whole team did not admit that they had made a fuck up on this global call. Of course they couldn't. Okay, so they said, oh, don't worry, this is how we're gonna do, and as if I was the one who was not understanding what I was talking about. They just like beat around the bush a bit and then ended the call. And then after they ended the call, they must have had a quick call amongst themselves and realize what a big blunder they have made, and promised the client to do this going forward. And then they started developing ideas around it. What are they going to do? How are they going to work this out? And how can they cover up this one mess that they have made without admitting that they have made this mess? So eventually they must have discussed a few different ideas about, I don't know what, doing what not and stuff like that. But then eventually what they made the people do is they formed a satellite team of to do briefings in India, and then the dedicated teams to do briefings in North America and other countries, and then the Indian team to do the briefings from Asia and other countries. They would stay back until 11 p.m., 12 p.m., sometimes 1 p.m. at night to do those briefings, just to coincide with the American timings, or the European timings, or any other South American timings. And they would be the ones who would be getting penalized. And I'm sure it's not just in India, but many other countries where I think it was just then about economics. And they said, in India you don't get paid by the hour. Okay, if you're into a blue collar, white collar job, you will get paid by uh, annually, or you'll get paid by the month. And then most overtime is unpaid unless you are in a labor job. You're expected to do that overtime, and they milk that to the maximum. The Indian counterparts were working like 18 hours, 20 hours a day, man. I was so feeling bad for them. They would be working like at 12 p.m. In the night, and they would be back again online at 8 a.m. in the morning. Oh, that was terrible to see that happen. So that one mistake, and they could have easily gone back and said that, sorry, we fucked up. We just didn't know this basic thing that when it's 10 a.m., or when it's morning in China, it's night in the West, and when it's morning in the West, it's night in the other parts of the world. They didn't consider this basic fact and promised to have global briefings. And then, uh, without reversing that, without correcting, you know, that mistake that they had made, they made a whole group, a whole company, of a whole branch of the company suffer, work 6 hours overtime every day. Or let's say, even if they're not working the whole time, they're taking off. But imagine logging back into your computer at like 11 p.m. at night, and expecting to have, a call, a video call, at times an audio call with the client, interacting for the first time, giving an impression of the company, how terrible it might be. And most of the times they might be doing it from home, from bed. And this whole situation was terrible. And at that point I thought, if this is the situation, how mismanaged could the other things be? And then I saw then how mismanaged they were. And the whole situation had gone like so south. Like, oh man, it was terrible, it was terrible. So pathetic management is the number one thing which is ruining corporate world right now, which is ruining the corporate experience right now. Horrible, pathetic, terrible, new age, young, left leaning, feministical management is ruining the corporate right now. Well, anyways, I'm sorry about this rant. Hope you guys have a good day. Take care. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.